So definitely you should get subject to finance, or also you can get a cooling off period, because once you sign an unconditional contract, you are binded to that contract.
Wow.
Whether if you get declined by the bank, you're still paying something to the vendor.
Yeah. And if you've put a deposit on this,
if you put a deposit, there goes your deposit, is gone. Wow. Because it's a binding contract. You've got to fulfill your obligation of the contract.
So before I actually launch this podcast for the first time, I want to break it down into 3 different categories. So the first one I want to do is formally introduce myself. Secondly, I want to talk about BlackwealthConnect and what it represents. And third, I want to introduce my first guest, which I'm looking forward to. So just to give you a bit of an introduction about myself, I have been in finance for about 10 years. So I have done mortgage lending. Predominantly, I'm the person that will give you the green light to whether or not your loan is successful or not. So yeah, you can call me the bad guy if you would like to. And I've also done things in unsecured space, which is personal loans and credit cards. And I've also been in commercial property, which is your Gloria Jean franchises and other little small businesses. And also I've worked in risk. So I've done a lot in finance, and this continues on with the journey today. So to talk about BlackwealthConnect, how I came up with the concept was simply, I've done a lot of traveling in my lifetime, and I've seen a lot of good things that Black people are doing within the communities overseas. And it was very inspiring. And this platform is to be able to showcase, the Black entrepreneurs all around the world, the CEOs, small business owners. And this is basically it's a platform for us to be able to come here and talk about some of the things that they've done, some of their journeys. And I really look forward to that. And when we talk about the word wealth, it can be used in many different ways. A lot of people will connect the word wealth to money, material items. But in this case, it's a wealth of knowledge to be able to build a Black community and to create better opportunities. So this is very exciting for me, and I really can't wait. We're going to be speaking to a lot of people, which I hope you guys look forward to. And if there's anybody that you guys want me to speak to and to be on the other side of the table, then let me know. So the time has come. I want to introduce my very first guest, Jesseamankwatia. I'm excited to have you as the first guest on this platform, and thank you very much for being able to do this. I want to talk about our soccer experience, man.
Yeah, football. I'll check it, mate. Maybe we're Black and you're saying soccer, man. Yeah,
okay, football. Sorry,
thank you, sir.
Okay, so football. So so you are a very competitive person. So you've played football.
That's
so
right.
I mean, did you play at a high level, or what type of football did you play?
Yeah, look, played football since I was younger, since the age of 8.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, still playing now, but not on a as competitive level, but played semi-professional football in Australia or in New South Wales. Yeah. Played African Cup here as well.
What got you into football, man?
Look, to be honest, football is in my blood.
Really?
So
who else in your family has done it, brother?
So my uncle played for Ghana, the Black Starlets. So,
really?
Yeah, they came when I was younger. They came to Australia under 17s. Wow. Also, my mum always tells me my grandfather, he used to, back in the day, he would travel wherever Ghana travels. If they travel Ivory Coast, the nearby countries, he would follow Ghana. And, he was very passionate about football. Also supports, of course, Asante Kotoko, in Ghana. It's a big Ghanaian team.
Oh, really? Okay.
And furthermore, like on my dad's side, my dad's brother, they said that he was a great footballer. And they even named the park after him in Ghana and stuff.
Really?
So
what's the park called?
Oh, Addo Park.
Wow, okay.
Football, I think, has been in my blood. And obviously, growing up here, my cousins here, grew up watching them playing with the older boys. You got people like yourself as well.
Yeah. I was the best. Just admit it. Like now we're on this podcast, just say it. You know what I mean?
No, Fab was a great player. Striker, 10. He could do it.
Did we play against each other in like African Cups? I think we mostly played against each other in African Cups. Sorry, but we didn't play like outside of the African Cup against each other. Right?
Not against each other. I think we played. I think I would say played a bit in school. Because obviously you were I don't know. We're not talking about age, but you're one grade above me.
And still very young. I look very young.
Still very young.
I take care of myself. I brush my teeth.
Played I think school football with our schools. Our schools, were pretty much interlinked, as you know. And then also I think maybe 1 year, we want to play that. Maybe Blacktown.
Yeah, wow.
Spartans.
Maybe we played against each other.
Yeah. So
So no, that's really cool, man. Because I know that, and I think that because this podcast today is about finance, I think that because we both come from competitive backgrounds in football, I mean, that also transitions into no matter whatever we're doing in life, right? Because we always take that competitive nature with us. So, I really want to know about what you've done in finance, So are you able to explain to us like what you've done in finance and just explain your financial background?
Look, I think I've been in the finance industry for quite some time now. I think this year I'll say is maybe over 10 years, right? Almost heading to 11 years. Started whilst I was in uni. Obviously, that's when I first got my bank role, bank job. And obviously, I've gone through the ranks, I should say.
That's cool. That's cool. But was it something that you just woke up one day and you're like, oh, I wanted to get into finance? Or is it like your typical African parents where they're like, oh, you have to do this, become doctor, become this, become that? Oh, yeah. I mean, what inspired you to actually get into finance?
Very good question. I think whilst I was at uni, I started business and commerce, majoring in marketing. And whilst I was studying, a friend, told me, oh, look, there's a bank job if you're interested. Because obviously, whilst you're at university, you need to make some income as well. I was working in another place in the retail space, playing football as well. But then this opportunity came, and I think it kind of business and commerce, finance is involved. Even though my major was marketing, I'm still in the sales aspect, and so I took that job and. Funny enough, I've never looked back.
That is awesome.
That was just an entry-level job,
Really?
Whilst I was studying, playing football, it was an entry-level job.
Yeah, because I've always wanted to actually know how you got into it. That's very exciting, man.
That's how it was. A friend said, oh, look, I was like, yeah, why not? And I thought it links with my degree in some way, shape or form. Yeah. So I thought.
And it's been history since.
Yeah, since then, I haven't looked back, man.
Damn, that is unbelievable. Yeah, no, that's very. So
wasn't that African? My parents weren't gonna tell me.
They used to wake you up in the morning. You're trying to sleep. They're like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor. They always give you that speech. No, but that's really cool, man. I think that's really inspiring, man. That you've been able to maintain. Something that you started a very long time ago up until today, because that's not easy for people to do that. You know what I mean? And you've climbed up the ranks. So in finance, specifically, like what have you done and what have you enjoyed the most in finance, and what roles have you done, and what did you not enjoy as much?
Oh, look, I think I should start from the beginning. So I started in 2011. Yeah, 20. Wow, jeez. We're now in 2022.
But how old are you, man? You don't want to throw it out there.
I'm still young and fly, man. Still look good.
Now you still look good, brother.
But 2011. So I started just general servicing sort of role in terms of in the contact center.
Yeah, cool.
Started off as that, and then I moved.
Oh, just on that, man. Were you so? You worked in the big four banks, in the call center.
Yeah,
bro, how draining is that? Okay, look, I don't want to be negative. Look, I don't want to be negative, but at the same time, it does take a toll on you when those calls keep ringing and ringing and ringing. Correct. You know what I mean? And they don't stop. Sometimes you take up to, I don't know about where you worked at, but sometimes you take up to 70 calls a day.
Yeah, you take a lot of calls, man. Yeah. But and like you said, I think it gets to a point, like when it's very repetitive, it does take a toll. On you, And obviously, if some of the inquiries are similar. But I think if you can, some of the roles that if you can do that role, it kind of sets you in a good stead for the future.
That's what I always believe too.
So I did that. Then I moved into consumer sales, which I was doing like selling credit cards, personal loans, accounts, term deposits, which was good. Then moved into the mortgages space. So I started to do. We had a unique proposition for broker channel.
Oh wow, okay.
And so what I was doing was more servicing those clients. So once their loan settled, anything after post settlement, I would help their inquiries.
You dealt with that.
Yeah, dealt with that. Then after I was like, look, that's good to understand. Let me actually get into the more lending side of things, which turned me to. I was actually writing home loans for broker clients.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember
so we'll do like if client wanted a top up, say if they wanted a 50K increase, or 100K increase, sometimes we have to even write brand new loans because client didn't want to refer back to their broker. So I'll do it brand new from scratch.
And was that direct with the company that you worked for?
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
It was directly. Yeah, still. So I was with one company for a very long time. So so I started to do that, which was good. And then obviously got that experience and after moved that into like, I guess, mortgage retention space so trying to keep clients for the bank, you know,
the ones that are trying to run away,
they're trying to get away, don't want a better deal out there, they've had enough with usually, some of the things,
and usually that happens due to interest rates and things. People don't want to stay, you know what I mean? So correct. Anyway, I'll let you continue
and
on.
Then so which was good. Then after that, I was like, look, I think I've got to get a bit outside my comfort zone. I've got to turn to actually writing bigger loans, look at different transactions, whether it be construction loans, whether it be first home buy, whether it be refinances. Awesome. So what I did is then turned into like a lending role. It's called like a lending associate role. Which was very good, opened my eyes to many things, and dealing with more, I guess, which we'll talk about later, dealing with BDMs, dealing with brokers per se, which was good. And then after, became a relationship associate, which I was looking after a set of broker portfolios, and then a business development manager for a number of years, for 3 years.
That's really good.
Which we'll obviously, I know we'll dive into that.
We'll dive
and then
into
obviously,
it,
and then now into the mortgage brokering space. So
nice,
it's, as you can see, 11 years almost.
Very good experience, man. And I think it's not easy. You have to have a certain mindset to be able to go through those type of roles. Because it's very easy after a while, you work for an organization for a long period of time. And then what can happen is your mindset, you become very bored or whatever the case may be. And it's very easy for you to go into another company. But the fact that you've been able to build yourself up, because that's very important. And you get more exposure and things like that.
And
so
experience.
That's, a lot of experience. So very inspirational. So I want to dive into the brokering world because I think that's predominantly what we're going to be talking about today, and that's for first home buyers. So there's two ways that people can go for a mortgage. Either you go through a mortgage broker or you can go directly into a bank, which we're going to break down. But just to be able to move into this segment, can you explain to our viewers what the role of a mortgage broker actually is?
It's a very good question that you've asked there, Fab. Obviously, a mortgage broker pretty much wants to find a lending solution for a client. So they're able to get what the client wants. So let me, I guess, simplify it. So a customer may want some sort of home loan or some sort of finance requirement. So it's the broker will get all this information and look to find a solution that can meet their needs or meet their objectives. So that's why I think the mortgage brokering, they want to act in the best interest of the client. And obviously awesome. As we talk, I think people unravel.
Definitely, man. We're gonna break it down as much as we can. So in my experience, when we're both property owners, and just with my experience, I didn't have the best experience when I bought a house. It was actually one of the worst experiences that I've ever had in my life.
That's unfortunate, man.
Like I actually wanted to pull out my teeth sometimes because just for the viewers, just understand that when you are purchasing a first home, it's not always going to be the smoothest transition. And I think that's why it's important for you to listen to this podcast, because we're going to break down exactly some of the issues that you might go through when purchasing your first property, and some of the do's and some of the things you should do and some of the things that you shouldn't, right? So when I was purchasing a property, some of the things that I dealt with when I went through a mortgage broker is they kept bringing up BDM, business development manager, relationship manager, because some things had to be escalated to them, right? Correct. So you got mortgage broker, then you have BDM, and then you have, in some cases, BDMs and relationship managers are quite the same. So can you explain more in detail what the BDMs are, so business development managers, and the relationship managers? What are their roles, and how is it that they can get involved in an application?
Very good point. So obviously relationship managers, business development managers, which will abbreviate to BDM, very similar.
Okay.
Like some banks or some banks may intertwine the words, but it's very similar. So a business development manager, they are pretty much the brokers. Think of it like this, to simplify. The broker's contact is the business development manager in that bank they're going to. So brokers doesn't know who the CEO is. They don't know who the credit assessor is. They don't know who the loan documents person. They don't know. They think the business development manager is the bank. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah. So in any point of contact, pretty much the business development manager role is to acquire lending for that particular bank.
Okay.
So let's say bank ABC. I might work for a bank ABC.
Yeah.
I want to get as many home loans to bank ABC. Okay. How do I do that? By building a relationship, developing business with brokers, so they can lodge the client's home loan or the customer's home loan to bank ABC.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So obviously you're building rapport with them, you're building relationships with them, you're developing business, you're trying to as well strategize on ways that you will get more home loans to the bank that you work for.
Yeah, it's a big part of, bringing business to the banks.
Correct. And it's, as you can see, the broking industry now is massive. Like
saturated.
So the majority of home loans that go through brokers, like in the market now, indicative, say about 60% or say above 60% now, 60 to 62% indicative. Yeah. The market is held by brokers. So people are not going to the banks directly anymore. Back some years ago, whilst we were working in the bank, the percentage was much lower. They weren't going to brokers, but customers. So that tells you where we're heading to. That brokers are trusted. Clients want to go to brokers.
Can I just ask you something? So can you break down the difference between going directly to a bank and the difference between going to a broker?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the bank, if you go to a particular bank, you can only get that lending product, or you can only get that home loan, or you can only make sure you fit their box.
Okay.
Right. So that particular banks, they will have a criteria, or they might have policies that you have to adhere to. And they only sell that one product.
Yeah.
However, if you go to a mortgage broker, they have connections, or they have the contacts to a whole array of banks or lenders.
Okay. Yep.
So you're not minimized. So the broker will find the best bank or the best lender for you, the customer.
So in saying that too, because I think, some people love loyalty, people like to stay with the same banks doing everything.
Since they were younger.
Like even with CBA, for example, like you get that little piggy bank when you're young, and then that's it. You know what I mean? They want you to ride or die to the very end. But the thing is, now honestly, like, those piggy banks, they capture people. They're it's a very smart technique.
Strategy,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason why some people might go directly to a bank is because they have been loyal to that bank forever, right?
Correct.
And like you said, that bank might not cater to everything that person wants, because their policies might only fit a specific niche, right?
Correct.
And I think it's not about you just sticking to one bank now. It's about what can be my cheapest repayment.
Correct.
When it comes
And what are you going to get the benefit? Like, what's your benefit out of it, right? What's your goals and objectives? So obviously, in some instances, the cheapest rate might not work for you, because if you might go to bank EFG. There might be
making up banks today. EFG.
But let's say you could go to a black bank. We're about BlackwealthConnect. So you could go to Black Bank. It might be the cheapest rate. However, they may not meet your goals or objectives. Or let's break it down. You might work in a certain role in work. You might be in some sort of industry. Black bank may not accept that sort of industry or occupation. But they've got the cheapest rate. But as you can see now, because they don't accept your occupation, you can't get the cheapest rate. You have to find. That's what I'm saying. It's really down to your goals and objectives, your whole situation, which we'll discuss. But it takes into account a whole situation. Because if that was the case, that's why there's a variety of banks.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if not, if every bank had the same product, same rate, then there's no point. There's no point.
So there has to be a level of healthy competition around.
Competition, points of difference.
Exactly. No, definitely. So, so I want to dive into this. So For people out there that maybe want to get into the mortgage brokering
Mm-hmm.
space, like, I mean, what is required to actually, start doing that role?
Yeah,
Like,
look, I think if you want to get into the mortgage brokering, like now these days, any role, you need some sort of education. Right, you need to get some sort of certificates. You need to get that degree or something, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
But in mortgage broking, you don't actually necessarily need to get a degree,
Yeah.
like a university degree. No, so it's in two parts. So you can get a certificate for
Yep.
in finance mortgage brokering. Usually, a lot of brokers have that at the start, but as the regulators and the industry bodies now want, I guess, the level of brokering to go up,
Yeah.
then as well you have to get a diploma. Okay. So you got to get a diploma in mortgage brokering or mortgage finance.
Yeah.
You've got to get a diploma to become a broker.
Yeah.
Once you get that, so in my instance, I've got a diploma. I didn't need to do the certificate for, and I think it might be
You're
down
not,
to my.
you're not bragging.
I'm
or
not
anything,
bragging,
but, you just have it. You know, what I mean? Like you qualify.
It might be due to my banking experience that I've had. Obviously,
yeah.
being in the industry for so long.
Yeah.
I don't think they looked at my degree, to be honest. Maybe they did, but I think I was able to get straight to get a diploma.
Oh wow. Okay.
So once you get your diploma,
yeah.
then you've got to be accredited with a industry body
Yeah.
called MFAA,
Yeah.
Mortgage Finance Association Australia, and there's other similar memberships.
Yeah.
Once you get that, then you've got to be accredited with an aggregator. So the aggregator is the one that pretty much every broker has to be under an aggregator in Australia.
Got you. Okay.
Gone are the days where you could be a broker directly with a bank, have a direct accreditation from the bank. That's no longer really the case. So you've got to be go through an aggregator who you've got to pay something to them, of course.
Yeah.
They'll give you, I guess, software, materials, tools. They might give you branding,
like servicing calculators, things like that.
they'll give you servicing calculators. They'll give you a whole lot of things.
Okay, awesome, man. No, that's really good.
But
okay.
obviously, the starting point is your certificate for diploma, depending where I guess your background is.
Yeah.
Like say, in my instance, because of my background, I didn't have to get the certificate
have
for.
to get it, yeah.
But if
somebody
you're coming
fresh out
entry
of
level,
high
fresh out of
school,
high school, or
yeah,
fresh from a different
you
career path,
you're gonna have to do the yards.
you got to do the yards. Get the
yeah.
certificate for, then get your diploma.
Yeah.
Then you get the membership, and then you can get accredited
You
as
gotta
a
prove
broker.
yourself, man. That's just the way it is.
That's the way it
sometimes,
is.
Especially coming fresh out of school. Sometimes you don't always have. Well, you don't have any experience at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
correct.
depending if you've done work experience throughout school, but yeah, you gotta prove yourself when you come out to
earn
these.
your
You
stripes,
gotta earn
man.
your stripes. So now we're gonna go into buying a home for the first time, right? Because this is very important. Obviously, this is why we're here today to discuss this subject. Now, if I'm a first home buyer, what will be the process for me to actually get a broker for the first time? So do you think that, should I go on Google or should I maybe be referred by a friend? What do you think the right process is?
That question is a great question. For my personal opinion, I think should start off with someone referring you a broker. And the reason why I say that is if someone refers you, if I refer you someone for plumbing, right?
Yeah.
You trust you trust the person that's going to come and
100%.
do the works because Jesse referred it to me. Jesse must have used them before.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it should be similar sort of thinking like that, that in the mortgage brokering space, if you know someone that has used a mortgage broker and they had a great experience, helped the person achieve their objectives, you should use the similar person.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you can Google. But Google, you'll find so many brokers, right? The one-man brokers or one-woman brokers.
You'll go into an unknown world if you Google.
It might be someone that's just fresh, fresh from getting their stripes.
Yeah. But that's very important what Jesse say because for the viewers, because you actually do want a broker that has a track record of success. That's being able to get people into their homes for the first time. You don't want to, you probably just don't want to Google, but at the same time, I do agree with you with the whole referrals thing. Is there anything else you want to add on to?
I think that's a starting point. But as well, there are industry websites that you may want to utilize. Example, MFAA. If you put in your postcode, it can show you what brokers are in that region or in that suburb. and you may want to help them. If you even use that, you can use that as a starting point, and then you can go and do your further research, whether it's on Google, ask Jeeves if that's still around.
No, just on that, man, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like that is a very important point, because some first home buyers might have a very bad experience with brokers, right? So I've done my research. There's 16,000 brokers in Australia, and there was 15,999 until you signed up. And then you made it. You made it to 16.
Making records in Australia.
Records. So you're certified in that aspect. So, like, I do want you to explain what is a way, if I'm a first home buyer today and I want to confirm that the broker, or have some sort of insurance that the broker that I'm dealing with can actually do the job correctly, or to find out whether or not they've been successful with a lot of people. Is there any websites? I know that you did mention that website before, but is there any further research that me buying a home for the first time I can kind of dive into?
Yeah, so you can dive into that website that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
You can, if you know some of the aggregators, you can go on their actual websites to see what the broker's track records are. Obviously, as you know, as well, if you see someone with accolades, you would think, the person has done a good job. Sometimes it could be good accolades, could be bad accolades, right? But if you go on to like the Better Business Summit, usually there's award winners that, or even nominees.
Wow.
If you MPA 100 top brokers, if you're on the top brokers of Australia,
I'll use you for sure.
You would think that broker's listed. So that means it means something.
100%.
So those sort of things that you can also use to obviously ascertain that for yourself.
Okay, no, that's very interesting.
So it's good because you can't just rely on Google.
Oh yeah, no,
or
Google.
ask Jeeves or whatever there is.
Come on, Google's going to bring you up a lot of things. So we've established that. So I want to get into accreditation, right? So because if I'm a first home buyer and I see, let's say, for example, I go down the route where I do Google, right? So sometimes you might find a broker that has 40 different banks underneath their panel. So you go on the website, whatever, fabbrokers.com, and then you see, Fab has 40 lenders that can offer you a potential, a success rate on your mortgage. So is this actually real when they have that much underneath their panel, or is there any way to find out whether or not these banks are actually attached to them? Because from what I understand, in some cases you can't get all these banks underneath your panel. Sometimes you have to actually do tests as a broker and things like that. So can you maybe explain that more in detail?
Yeah. So with that, you are correct. There's a panel of lenders that each aggregator. So some aggregators won't have the same lenders or banks on their panel, which is very interesting. So even though a broker may say that they've got access to 40, 50 lenders, it may not always be the case, because one, even though a broker is accredited with an aggregator, they also have to get accredited with the bank through the aggregator. So the aggregator will start the process for you, but you've got to get accreditation with each bank.
Okay.
So if, say, you and I work aggregating through the same aggregator, if I don't do their tests, some lenders might say you got to give two files that you've lodged before, so they can see the caliber of broker you are. Some might say, give me a marketing plan. Some might do just a training workshop with you, and so they can accredit you. Some may do quiz, like an online test.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it goes into detail.
So
like that,
so there's each lender has their requirements, so they will allow you to use. You use them so you can give to your, provide that option to your customers.
Okay, awesome. And just on that too, like one thing I do want to add for the viewers is that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but it is also good that you work with a broker that has done some lending before, right? Because they have experience within policies with other banks, so they know what those banks look for, right?
Correct.
So, and having that experience, they also are able to package a deal. So when we say package, and we're going to get into that, obviously get pay slips and get whatever documents are required, they can actually package it very good for a credit assessor within that bank.
Correct.
Because they've already done lending before. Yeah. So I think that's very important too. So that's something that you can ask your broker, you know,
what
when
their
you're dealing
background
with them, what their background is, have they done, you know, any type of lending or anything within
any
mortgages?
bank,
Yeah.
Because you see some brokers, like when I was a BDM, some brokers did not even come from banking or finance.
I heard
Came from completely. I've had some people that came from IT, marketing.
Yeah.
One was a construction worker.
Wow.
So
a construction worker.
Yeah.
Oh, good on them. I mean, maybe that's what they've always wanted to do. Yeah.
Possibly,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think what you said is a very good question that you should ask your broker. Understand their background, where they've come from.
Yeah.
I guess it will give you, the assurance
Exactly.
that okay, they've got some sort of experience in the game.
And you've also done lending before, so you understand. You understand both sides of the fence, which ultimately gives you very good experience, you know, and then you're able to work with those things.
So make sure you come see me. We'll talk about that at the end.
Don't worry.
I like how you sound about the experience. Look, I'm humbled, but I do have that experience, as you know.
Of course, and you've worked hard to get it. So I mean, you know, sometimes you got to give yourself credit. Jesse, relax. But no, don't worry. We will definitely put links in for to reach out to Jesse if you are interested in buying a home. Don't worry about that. We got you, Jesse. So when going through the process with a broker, what information should be disclosed during the interview process? So this is the first time.
Yeah, the first time you're meeting the broker.
So let's say you find a broker, you call them on the phone, whatever. And then after that, now you say, okay, look, broker, I want to buy a home for the first time. So that initial first interview that you have with the broker, what generally do you discuss with these applicants or potential applicants?
Applicants. So in that first initial meeting, it's just more like a fact find. It's more a discovery conversation between the broker and the customer. The broker wants to understand, what are you trying to achieve? What's your goals? What's your objectives? You know, sort of as well. You want, like how the customer wants to kind of know the backgrounds of brokers. The broker wants to know the background of the customer. Okay. You know, to understand that, okay, this is the person I'm working with. This is the person I'm going to start this relationship with to help them. So, you know, generally they'll try to ascertain, you know, what's your income, you know, what you're looking to buy or looking to do, because, you know, you're not only buying, you might want to refinance, etc.
That's true.
You know, when do you want to achieve your goal?
Yeah.
He's trying to get as much. Like, are you a resident? Are you a citizen? Yeah. Do you have children? Are you married? What's your status? You know, those sort of things they want to discover. As in the initial meeting. It's just more of a discovery. They're not going to ask you for, you know, straight away they want to get initially, just discover what they're working with.
I got you. Okay, that's cool, man. And also one thing I want to throw in there very quickly is that make sure that if you are buying a home for the first time and you're dealing with a broker, ask as much questions as you can during that interview process, because you don't want to come across things that you might, you know, that might come up and you're like, what the hell is going on? So it's very important, as much as the broker asks you questions, it's also very important that you, as a potential customer of that broker, that you ask a lot of questions to fully understand everything.
I agree with you. Make sure you ask those questions. There's no dumb question. I always have that. So ask questions.
Exactly. You know, unless you're asking it, then it's a dumb question. No. But okay, so we're gonna go. We're gonna continue on with this because this is. I'm enjoying this so much, and I think that it is going to be very beneficial to people that are buying homes for the first time. So is the broker generally supposed to send me some sort of documents to sign before I talk about any of my personal information? So, because it might be uncomfortable to be like, you know, you might ask me for certain things, but is there something that I'm supposed to sign to be able to protect my privacy?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So after maybe you have the initial meeting with the broker, the broker should be sending you like a data collection form. Yeah. So that some of the stuff you discussed in the initial, you're going to actually put it on form, on paper. Yeah. Sorry. So, you know, your name, where you live, your assets, liabilities, your income, living those sort of things. So we call it, just generalize it as a data collection form, which you will sign in dates. Okay. You know. Yeah. Second thing is also, do you give authority for the broker to go do a credit check on you? That's another sort of form. All these are obviously confidential. But these are the forms that you need to sign before the broker can go and, you know, embark on things.
Just on that, when they do the credit check, does it actually hit your credit file?
it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
Well, the one I use doesn't
Oh, the
hit.
one- okay, that's
It doesn't
fair.
hit. So it's just
And
more
we'll
like a
talk-
read only.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, but it doesn't put a mark on you. No.
Okay, awesome. And like, what kind of documents would the broker get? Like, so after you sign the privacy and you feel comfortable and you've had the initial interview with the broker, you're satisfied. So, what kind of documents are you going to ask me for?
So I will ask for pay slips if you're a PYG.
Yeah.
Or in PYG occupation. If you're self-employed, I will ask for your 2 years tax returns.
Yeah.
Whether it be company tax returns and individual tax returns. I will ask you for if any your bank statements, your savings. If you're going to buy a property, I might ask you for contract of sale.
Yeah.
That's the binding contract between you and the vendor. So what as well I'll ask is for as well your savings, because obviously bank statements and savings may be different. If you've got other credit cards or personal and car loans, I would want to see what that looks like as well.
Okay, awesome. And also one thing I'll just throw in there quickly is make sure all your ID is up to date. Yeah, because me being in the lending space for as long as I've been in, especially during COVID, a lot of people didn't actually travel, as we know. So a lot of passports were expired. And keep in mind that majority of banks that you deal with, they're going to need 100 points of ID, right? So you need to make sure that your driver's license or your passport is valid. And then after that, obviously your Medicare card, etc. So I just wanted to throw that in there because
it's good that you threw it in there because the broker would definitely be requesting that.
Exactly.
They need to identify you.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So that needs to be up to date as much as possible.
100%, yeah. But the good thing is also the majority of banks, they do take, especially if you have an Australian or New Zealand passport, if it's expired within 2 years, it's generally not a problem. But look, that might not work for every institution, but generally speaking, it's okay. You know what I mean? But look, just make sure everything's up to date, man. It saves everyone time. So what are the fees of using a broker, and how does a broker get paid from my application? And should they charge me anything up front?
They're going to charge you $1 million.
Oh, wow.
So you got to have that Mayweather money. But to be honest, there's no cost to the customer.
Okay.
The broker cannot charge fees. As you may, obviously people won't know, but a few years ago, there was a royal commission.
Yeah.
So sometimes brokers were charging customers maybe a consultation fee or a fee because some brokers will do a lot of work and sometimes the customer won't proceed.
Oh, okay.
Or even if the customer did proceed and then maybe a few months later, the customer wants to get out of the home loan, brokers were getting charged a clawback.
Yeah.
A clawback is pretty much, it stems from the banks pay the banks pay commission to the aggregator pays the commission to the broker.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's how brokers get income, or that's how they generate. So that's why there's no fees to the customer in home loan space.
Okay.
Right, or home lending, there's no cost to the customer. The broker, and this is all stipulated in the privacy documents and documents that you may sign. It has to be stipulated to let you know that, hey, this bank will pay me, X amount of dollars, and upfront once the loan settles. Furthermore, this is what they will receive as trail commission on a monthly basis.
I've always just quickly, are you able to dive into the trail commission side of things? How does trail commission actually work? So do you get paid? So let's say, for example, $500,000 house, it's settled. So now you're the broker behind that successful application. So how often would you get paid from that deal?
Yeah, so what it is every month. So you get it upfront. Once the loan settles, maybe the following month you get an upfront amount for upfront commission.
Okay.
After that, as long as the customer stays with that bank, every month you get a small percentage of whatever the balance is owing on the loan.
Oh, really? So do you know does the percentage depend on which bank?
It's more because the agreement is between the bank and the aggregator. So whatever they've set up is what you will get. Right, so it might be example. It's not a big percentage, but it's very small percentages. But imagine that it's like passive income. So you want to write more loans and you want to settle more home loans, so that the broker can get his money.
Get the money, okay. Then you can buy more gold chains. Like, they bling bling, just. Okay, so I want to dive into AIPs. And I want you to explain what AIP is, because I feel like if I explain, I'm just going to go on a...
No, you can explain it, man.
Are you sure?
You assess these AIPs sometimes, man.
All right. So, look, AIP basically means approval in principle. So to cut it short, it's just a pre-approval, right? So what happens is if you're a first home buyer and you actually haven't found a property that you want to purchase, what you simply do is just go to the bank, and the bank might, or go to a broker, for example. A broker will ask for all the documents like Jesse has said. And then what we do in the credit world is that we just assess what your maximum borrowing is, right? Based on your income. That's right. Simply all we do. So based on your income, if you might be able to service a loan, service meaning that you might be successful for a loan up to $700,000. If it's you and your partner, you might be able to both be successful for a loan up to $700,000 or even $1 million, just depending on our income, right? And that generally lasts for around 90 days. Just keep in mind. And if it does go over 90 days, the pre-approval, then what can happen in that instance is that we will just ask for updated pay slips. Also keep in mind too that it is good when you are going to, like, for example, auctions and things like that, because when you have a pre-approval document, it's good because that auction knows that you are somebody that's already basically been approved, and you can put down a deposit on the house or whatever the case may be. So do you recommend as a first home buyer that they go down that path, get an AIP first if they haven't found a property?
Yeah, I definitely agree that if you're a first home buyer, you've never had a home loan before, you should go get a pre-approval just to understand how much you can borrow, what's your borrowing capacity, because then you can go out and budget what sort of properties you want to buy, whether you go to auctions or whether you're doing your research. Once you have your pre-approval, it gives you the confidence that the bank has approved based on your current situation with your income. That yes, if you were to be successful with a property, then that we would approve if the property is up to standard.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, that's very good. Yeah, and I think a lot of people actually don't even know they can do AIPs. I swear I don't think they do, because it's not something that's really advertised.
It's not advertised as much. I agree with you. I don't think it's not advertised as much, and therefore people don't know.
They don't know much of it. Okay.
But definitely you should, as a first home buyer, you want to have some sort of confidence that the bank has assessed your situation that you've presented to them. Income is a big one. 100%. So once you know that, you go, oh, yep, I've got my pre-approval, I've got my AIP. You can look for the next 3 months for a property that you want to buy.
It gives you a bit more confidence. So Jesse, I want to go down the path of, let's say the applicant has found a property, right? So I'm first home buyer, as we've discussed. I found a property. Should the broker do a valuation on that property first before we put in any application? And are you able to break down what a valuation is for the viewers?
Yeah, so valuation is where a certified valuer will go to the property to assess how good the property is, what the value it is, if there's any risks or concerns about the property. The valuer will go and do that and present a report back to the bank. You cannot get a valuation without you signing the contract of sale.
Okay.
So if you and the vendor, which is the person selling the property, hasn't signed a contract, no valuer will go ahead and do a valuation because it's a waste of their time.
Yeah, it's a waste of their time.
Because imagine if there's 1,000 people at an auction and everyone wants a valuation, a pre-evaluation before they go to the auction. There's no guarantee you're going to be successful with that auction, right?
Yeah.
So you can only entertain a valuation once you've signed a contract of sale. Then you go back to your broker and they'll organize the valuation for you.
No, awesome. And the valuation, just to add on top of what Jesse says, it basically, if you buy a property or you've agreed with the vendor that the property is worth $800,000, you might have, let's say, a 10 or 20% deposit for that house. Just keep in mind, if they go do a valuation and it's not worth what the vendor is saying, and it comes down to, let's say, from 800 to 700,000, I think it's good then because you're able to, in some cases, go back to the vendor and renegotiate what the house is worth. It's very important to do a valuation. I agree.
The valuation is very important before you. And usually, what I would say is then, if you're gonna do that, maybe put in a clause on agreement with the vendor. Like you say, if you're going to go back to the vendor, make an agreement. Say, maybe give me a 5-day cooling off period or a 10-day cooling off period. So that all that stuff in the background, the valuation, making sure it comes out at the right value. If it doesn't come back at the right value, then you and the broker need to reassess where you're going to get the rest of the money to complete the purchase.
Yeah, because there's a bit of a shortfall. Yeah,
there's a shortfall. So it's very important.
Yeah, now that's awesome. And just on that too, because a lot of vendors, in some cases, they can overvalue their house. They could say that their house is worth 900,000, and then when a value goes out there, it's only worth 600,000. So just keep in mind for the first home buyers that everybody that is selling their home wants to get the most money they can get for their home. So they're going to increase the prices to whatever level. Just on the contractor sales, it's very interesting that you brought that up. So as a first home buyer, should I sign an unconditional contract or subject to finance? And are you able to explain the differences between those two?
So definitely you should get subject to finance, or also you can get a cooling off period, because once you sign an unconditional contract, you are binded to that contract.
Wow.
Whether if you get declined by the bank, you're still paying something to the vendor.
Yeah. And if you've put a deposit on this,
if you put a deposit, there goes your deposit, is gone. Because it's a binding contract. You've got to fulfill your obligation of the contract.
And that basically means that if you do sign an unconditional contract, you have to be super confident that you are going to get approved, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So,
and some people do sign unconditional because of what they've got in the pre-approval or AIP you mentioned.
Already got you. Okay. Cool.
However, if your AIP has lapsed, so the 3 months has passed, and you're thinking, I'll still go sign, what you were approved for 3 months ago, the bank's landscape could have changed.
Could have changed. The interest rates could
have changed. Policy could have changed. The industry bodies could have. A number of things.
That is actually a very good point, because it does happen a lot, and especially in the last 3 months or 2 months, the interest rates have gone up. So they've gone up.
Fixed rates have gone up.
Fixed rates have gone up. Your variable rates have gone up. I mean, the variable rates are still okay, but the fixed rates, what you were getting a couple of months ago, you're not getting that anymore.
Not at all.
So no, that's actually a very good point. So I think that you just have to be careful with contractor sales. And if you are confused about them, make sure you ask your brokers, or if you want to reach out to me and Jesse, as I said, we'll add the links, and then we can give you more detail.
But definitely, as a first home buyer, make sure you try to seek a cooling off period or subject to finance.
Got you.
Especially with your first property, you want to do that.
Anyway, that's just a food for thought. So what is usually the time frame when a broker has found a bank that meets my needs to final approval? So what's the steps after I get the documents to final approval? How long does that usually take?
So each bank or each lender will have a credit assessment time frame. I guess if a bank is very, very busy, they may take a bit longer to assess your deal. So generally 1 to 3 to 5 days is good. That's anything longer than that, it might not meet your timeframes for your contract. You know what I mean? So you got to keep that in mind.
So so just make sure you call up the broker. Look, I'm not gonna say what I really want to say, but I think it's important for the broker to obviously keep in touch with the applicant and make sure that they know what's going on with the application.
And just to add on to that, like if you provided the documents to the bank, and if the bank finds something like that they want clarification on, they will have to go back to the broker to ask more questions. Okay. So that also can impact your time.
Got you.
If you go, I'm saying.
No, 100%. No, 100%.
So you got to be mindful of that it can take a number of days. Generally, if everything's super clean, maybe you can get your formal approval maybe within 48 hours, 72 hours.
Yeah.
Generally, if no questions need to be asked. However, if there is going to be questions asked, the broker has to go back to the customer to ask, hey, the bank has asked for this. Can you please provide it to me? And then you're going to finally get it and then provide it to the broker. The broker will send it back to the bank. So that's all time that needs to be considered.
And like you were saying, and if they have a cooling off period or something with their property, then potentially that it could lapse.
It could lapse, definitely.
Jesse, as we were talking about credit files before, I actually want to go back to that very quickly, right? Because as a first home buyer, if you deal with a broker, there could be many times where your credit file is hit depending on what banks the broker is actually taking the applicants to. So can you explain maybe ways to actually avoid situations like that for an applicant not having to get their credit file hit multiple times?
Firstly, you should go to a reliable broker because a reliable broker will work out and recommend what's in your best interest, which lender to go to. Right. So if he goes to that one lender, he's already done the analysis and research that he's quite confident that your situation would be approved by the bank. That will minimize going to multiple banks. But sometimes the broker may need to go to 2 or 3 banks due to the customer's situation, but he needs to let you know that this is the reason why we're going to 3 banks, and each bank will do a credit hit.
A credit hit. Are you able to maybe give us just a quick example of why an applicant might go to 3 other banks rather than just the one?
Let's say example, to think of top of head.
Yeah, I mean,
it's, say, are you self-employed?
Yeah.
For example, most banks need 2 years financial documents. A few banks might need 1 year.
Yeah.
If your 2 years of financial documents is strong, due to maybe time frame, SLA,
Yeah.
because you need the deal approved quickly,
Yeah.
he may go to one lender. And then, but at the same time, he might go to 2 other lenders because he knows that they can give you more money,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
More loans.
Yeah.
Another example might be, you might, as a first-time buyer, you might need a pre-approval or AIP. You need it very quickly.
Yeah.
He might go to a lender that he knows will be able to do a pre-approval for you quickly. But once you find the property, he might take you to another bank because he knows that it might be a cheaper rate. It might be a better experience. You may say that you want a bank that has great internet banking.
Yeah, great internet banking. Yeah.
Or facilities, or you want a bank with a branch.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
so due to that, he's already did a credit hit for the pre-approval,
Yeah.
but now he's taken to another bank because
because
it might be
circumstances.
circumstances, and it might be better for you.
No, that's understandable. Okay, no, that's awesome. Now, the major thing I want to talk to you about, and this is the $1 billion question, is about the funds that you need to purchase the first home, right? Because this is very big, because some people think that, you need all this money to purchase the first home. It's not always the case, right? So I want you to break down how much, if you're a first home buyer today, how much money do you actually need to get yourself into your first home?
I think you should have some level of savings, but you can have as little as 5% of the property price.
Okay.
Or which from 5% all the way up to 20%.
Yeah.
If you only have 5%, you may have to pay lender's mortgage insurance, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you have 20% or more, you don't have to worry about that lender's mortgage insurance that the bank will charge you.
So is it safe to say that the banks generally want you to come with 20% to be considered a safe application? To the bank?
It's less risky. Okay. It's a less risk to the bank.
Yeah.
So if you're borrowing, if the bank only needs to give you a loan of 80%, it's a better situation for the bank. They know that you fit that profile of client.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay down the loan.
Yeah.
The security that they hold is at a good level for them.
Got you.
Okay. But if you borrow it as max as possible, say you borrow 95% and you only got the 5%, it is kind of a risk to the bank that it's not showing that you've got the character to have saved. Obviously, everyone's situation is different.
Yes.
You could have had a lot of money saved and then you spent it on going on holidays or a family situation or whatever.
Yeah.
But the more savings you have, the more it shows that the bank that, this customer is a right customer for the bank.
For the bank. Okay, got you. Now, LMI, which is, one of the biggest topics, because personally for me, I don't feel LMI is wrong. If somebody wants to get into their house for the first time and they want to, they don't have a 20% deposit, and let's say, for example, they only have a 10% deposit. So, which is if you have a 10% deposit, it's going to take the borrowing from the bank, it's going to be at 90%, right?
Correct.
So, is it actually bad to have LMI? Can you explain exactly what LMI is?
So LMI is lender's mortgage insurance, but we've just abbreviated it.
Yes.
There's 2 LMI providers in Australia.
Yeah.
They charge the bank for lending money to you, the customer.
Okay.
So the insurance is not for the customer. It's for the bank of them lending you such money.
And that's anything over 80%, right?
Yeah,
so
80%.
Just keep in mind, guys, because even if it's just 80.1 or 80 point whatever, it's going into LMI and you're going to be charged, a fee from the LMI providers.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So I think we should even just let people know what are the LMI providers, man, because
it's a good point. Yeah, because there's 2 in Australia, Genworth and QBE.
And just keep in mind too that with Genworth and QBE, sometimes when you do check your credit report, you're actually going to see that these companies have hit your credit file. Yeah. So just keep that in mind, because it was actually surprising, man. I've looked at credit files before and I've just seen that they have Genworth and QBE, and I actually didn't know. But just keep in mind, because what happens is when you apply for finance with a bank, you're also applying for finance with QBE and Genworth. So they're also like lenders too. So
yeah, because once in LMI space, the banks have to go to these LMI providers for them to give some sort of approval.
Exactly.
Because these LMI providers also got some sort of policies.
That's a very good point.
So I think that's why you're seeing that, Fab, that you saw it on the credit reports. So sometimes the bank may approve based on their policies. However, Genworth or QBE may not approve.
No.
Because in the end, they're the one that's as well giving the insurance to the bank.
That's a very good point.
That's why. So it's very important, but it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
To get to be charged lender's mortgage insurance. It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. So for first home buyers, please, if you want to get into a home for the first time and you don't have a 20% deposit, it is absolutely fine. Just get into the home and live your life, right? Because don't worry about that whole LMI thing, because I think you always have to start from somewhere in life. Right? And if it means it's a 5% deposit, 10% deposit, then just go ahead and do that. Now, are you able to talk about some of the schemes?
Yeah.
Because like first home owners FOG, first home owners grant and things like that. Are you able to elaborate so then people are able to know what type of schemes there is out there?
Yeah. So the first home owner grant is pretty much an initiative by the government to give customers or first home buyers $10,000.
Is that how much your chain costs?
Hey, my chain's priceless. Some things in this world money can't buy, bro.
Money can't buy.
So pretty
on
much
a serious note.
Yeah, on a serious note, they'll give you $10,000 if you buy a new home. Okay, either brand new townhouse, apartment. Also, a house that's substantially renovated, you may be eligible.
And that's also subject to the states, right? So depending on what state you
correct state. Very good point. Because every state has different. Maybe some might give more than 10,000. They might have less. They'll have different criteria.
I've heard even farmers. I don't know if this is true. It is true. But I heard if you live rural, depending on which part of Australia that you live rural in. You can actually get $20,000. So you can actually get more. I think it's just maybe in a city. That you generally get $10,000.
And I think the $10,000. I can only talk about New South Wales. But I know that the other states they've got different sort of grants, and it's based on each state government. Okay, cool. So make sure you look into that. A big one that the government has done really well on is called the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme.
That's exactly what, man, you're just on the same page as me. That's exactly what I want you to elaborate on next.
FHLDS, which are abbreviated. And this is something for those that just have as little as 5%.
Sometimes 2%.
Even 2%. So that's for single parents out there. If you're eligible, you meet the criteria, you can have as little as 2%.
2% deposit. That's very good, man.
And then the bank is approving you a loan or giving you lending of 98%.
98%. Wow.
So that is available for single parents. People don't know about this.
And you know what? This is why it's important with this podcast that we educate people, because you always think in the world that we live in, a lot of people think that you need these large deposits. When we walk around and we're like, people tell us, I own that property, I own commercial real estate, I own this. You always think, oh my God, you have so much money. But sometimes you actually don't even need that much money to actually get these properties. So it's a very good point. You got to
just have that first step.
It is a very...
And if these initiatives are available, utilize them.
Just utilize them.
Utilize them.
100%.
Don't think it's a big responsibility.
If the government's throwing out, then we catch it.
So use it. So that 5% again. Make sure you look into that.
Look into it and the 2% and stuff like that. So now that's awesome. Now look, I want to get into the final parts of this podcast, and it's been really good, man. I'm really enjoying sitting down with you. It's been a long time.
Likewise, man.
This is really dope. So I think now I really want to talk about just the potential delays that if you're buying a home for the first time, there could be things that come up, like anything, right? So you think that you're going into it, like I told you about my experience, the worst experience in the world, and I want to talk about if an applicant doesn't feel that the broker is doing a good job, can they actually change brokers in between that time, right? Or in between their application process. So let's say, for example, they start the application, they're halfway in, the broker's told them, okay, we're just waiting for the bank to give us some sort of an approval. And let's say that broker vanishes, disappears. Can they get another broker after that?
Yes, they can. So
what's the steps?
So you've got the right to change brokers, if you feel that the broker's not doing a good job, just make sure you put it in writing to the existing broker that you no longer want to bill with them, and also provide that in writing to the new broker. I've seen cases when I was in the bank that for the same applicant, there's 2 loans in our system or 2 applications in our system. And we could not proceed until we had written evidence from the client to say, hey, I'm not pursuing with this existing broker.
Oh, really?
I'm now going with the new broker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had to get that in writing.
So they couldn't actually pull the deal out of the queue because they probably couldn't even get in contact with the broker. He was probably in freaking Thailand
or wherever
partying. Or,
he's somewhere, right? So make sure that you can. Feel free. If you're not confident with your existing broker, feel free to change up your broker.
But you won't ever do that to any of your customers, are you?
No, I'll make sure I give them that tender loving care.
Oh man, just now I hope so. Yeah, now look, as we said, if you ever want a deal or you ever want a broker, we're definitely going to put all Jesse's links in the description so you can reach out to him. So what happens if your broker goes on holiday or something? Who picks up the application? So do brokers have like anyone else that,
it depends. If you're a one-man or one-woman broker, you may not have an assistant, to be honest. But if you're part of a larger brokering company, you will have assistants that can take over the deal whilst you are on holidays. Sometimes you can, if you're in a company where there's other brokers, the next broker can assist. Your fellow broker can assist.
Your fellow broker. Cool.
However, one thing I've noticed with brokers, even if they're on holidays,
don't
they're
say
still
with brokers. You're a broker, so So
with myself, even if I'm on holiday, we're still working.
Yes, and you know what?
So these days with technology,
you know what? You do have a point, because sometimes I have spoken to brokers, and he's like, "I'm on holiday, but I can still speak to you." I'm like, "But you don't need to speak to me. Do you have anyone else I can speak to?" They're like, "No. I need that deal to be approved. I need that deal to be." And they're freaking in Bali or Thailand partying. Yeah.
Because they want to make sure they're giving a good service to the customer. So sometimes if there's no one that can pick up the pieces or assist, then for sure most brokers that are one-man or one-woman brokers, even if they're on holidays, they're still working. Even if there's time zone difference, they'll still work and assist you. With technology, you can get on the phone, email.
There's always a way to reach out to each other. Right. What should the communication between a broker and a buyer be? So should they be getting an update every few days or every few weeks during the application process?
Correct. You should be communicating with your customer to give them the confidence and assurance that things are going well. Especially as a first home buyer, if you're not hearing anything, if you're just getting radio silence, you're sweating, you're panicking, so you're even fasting, fasting and praying that what's going on with my loan. But now, in all seriousness, a broker should be communicating with the customer, whether even if it's maybe every 48 hours, every 72 hours, at least, even if there's no update, just let them know you're still waiting from the bank 100%, to hear something,
100%, Because like Jesse said, you just don't want to leave people hanging, and it's just not a good experience. So just make sure...
be upfront with them.
Yeah, be upfront with them. Let them know if it's declined, it's declined. Let them move on with their life and, all right. So as a first home buyer, there could be things that come up along the way, right? Fees and things within that nature. Are you able to explain what maybe some of these things might be? For example, like, your stamp duties and conveyancer fees, etc.
Yeah, so for a first home buyer, there's fees or additional costs they must be aware of. Conveyancer fees can range a couple of thousands, depending. Also stamp duty. You are, New South Wales government I can talk about. You are exempt of stamp duty if you buy a brand new or existing property up to $650,000, where you pay $0 on stamp duty.
Okay.
But you can also get concession anywhere if the property value is between $650,000 to $800,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. As well, there's also government fees, of course, that you need to be aware of, registration of mortgage, the titles and all that. But that is also part of the bank fees that they will advise you of.
Okay, and that can add up too, right? Because,
Correct.
Some people might just think that they have enough, but like you definitely do need a couple extra thousand on the side to be able to cover those type of fees, right?
That's definitely right.
Okay. And just keep in mind too, Jesse, you might want to elaborate on this, but your conveyancer should know a lot of these things, right? So
they definitely should be educating you about the government fees that will need to that will be costing you, stamp duty fees. The solicitor or conveyancer should be giving you a breakdown of fees or additional costs that you need to pay for.
Yeah, pretty much upfront.
That you need to pay at settlement.
Yeah, at settlement. Okay. Are you able to just explain quickly? This is off the record, but just something very important. Are you able to explain what a conveyancer actually does?
Yeah, so a conveyancer looks after your property transaction in the legal aspects. So they'll make sure that the agreement, the contracts, how much funding you need required to complete the transaction, organizing the settlements with the bank as well. That's what they do.
Okay, awesome. And just when it comes to buyer's agents, because this is a hot topic right now, it is booming in the market. People are getting buyer's agents and things like that. Do you recommend that if you're a first home buyer that you do go through a buyer's agent, or what are some of the things that they might need to know about buyer's agents?
Yeah, I think buyer's agents, if you are not confident, you don't know much about property, you should always ask questions, whether it be a buyer's agent or someone else. You should inquire so you can have confidence in yourself that you're going to make, because this is a big commitment of your life. Buying a property as a first home buyer is a big commitment.
Correct.
So buyer's agents can give you insights, research, analysis into properties in certain areas that you could consider that will be good for you.
That will be good for you. And obviously you buying your first property too, you want it to go up in value over time. And then eventually when you go into buying another property in the future, if that's what you want to achieve, then, I feel like it is important that you fully understand the market that you're buying into. So that's just,
so they can help on that. So buyer's agent can assist with that. Real estate, those trusted people that are in the property space or in the finance space can assist.
You should always have everything in writing from a broker, right? Because sometimes the broker might say something to you, and if push comes to shove and the application's in the queue, there might be things that maybe you didn't agree with the broker at the beginning. Yeah. So how important do you think it is to have everything in writing from a broker?
Yeah, I think even from a broker's perspective, we want to put things in writing because we want to make sure that you as a customer have agreed to what we've suggested, what we've recommended, or what we've stated, So we want to have a clear line of communication, but also record keeping that, we discussed this on this date, you agreed to it, I agreed to it, happy days. Mm-hmm. So it's good to always ask things in writing so that because people forget things.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's good so you can go back as reference.
Okay. And is there any so as first home buyers, is it important that maybe they speak to their brokers about some of the incentives that banks might have? Because I know at one stage they were giving out $2,000 if you purchase a new home, or $4,000 frequent flyer points. How important do you think all that is to
Look,
ask?
I think it's an added bonus, right? If you're eligible for these cash incentives, $1 LMIs, no LMI, it's good, right? Ask your broker. Because some of these things, if you're going to get something for free, why not? Huh?
Yeah, why not? Especially if they're going to give you 100,000 points. I mean, whatever they're going to give you.
What they're going to give you.
If it's going to benefit you, especially as a first home buyer, if you get anything additional, it's a bonus.
It's a bonus to assist you. You might, like I said, fly points. You might go overseas. You might use it to buy something.
Exactly.
Or even the cashback. You might recoup some of your costs.
Exactly.
So
it might even relieve some of the stress. You've been saving up for a first home, God knows for how long, maybe up to 3 years.
Yeah.
And if they give you some incentives for you on your credit card or whatever the case may be, you go overseas, you can kind of relax. Right. It's that point where you come back and you restart your life again to live in your property. Now, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice about finance, what would that be?
I probably would have gone out as much clubbing,
I never saw you in the car. You didn't go out like that, man. Now, honestly, what would you, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, to be honest, if I could go back and tell my 18-year-old self, I would tell myself that get in the property game at an early stage in life,
100%.
rather than later.
So you would have saved up and just been able to focus on that, yeah?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's actually very good advice to give yourself. And
I didn't club too much, by the way, guys.
No, you were clubbing. No, I used to see you in the club by yourself at 5 a.m.
I never did those benders.
The King's Cross, 5 a.m. I used to see you on the street walking by yourself.
You used to see me. What were you doing there?
I was probably doing the same thing. I was walking. Now, that's very good advice, man. And this is obviously for the youth too, for the young people that are going to be watching this podcast. I think it's very important that you listen to Jesse's advice, because buying a property at a young age and being able to get the rewards when you become older, it makes a big difference to your life. That's all I'm going to say.
Definitely.
So next question is, what's one of the biggest financial failures, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, I think thinking of saving my bank account, you're going to get interest. Yeah, that was a failure.
Yeah, and what was that? Just basically due to the interest rates and stuff?
Yeah, I think when you're growing up, the interest rates were a bit better. But as you can see, as the years go by, the interest rate has been whack.
I know.
Saving interest rate has been whack.
Even if you have like $100,000 in your account, you're probably getting, at the end of it, you're probably getting 50 cents after the whole, after 1 month, you know what I mean? It's just the interest rates are poor.
Yeah, so it's been poor. So I would have rather than think of just saving it and leaving the accruing interest, probably would have invested it in something, whether it be shares, whether it be property.
Yeah.
Just seeing what would have been giving me the best value for buck.
Awesome. The final question for you, Jesse, is who has been the most important professional mentor in your finance career and why?
I think there's a few names that come to mind, but I think one of my managers at my previous role in the banking space gave me some good advice. Also, I had a mentor that used to also give great advice progressing me in my career. But also in the property space or finance space, also my cousin Arji.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been invaluable.
That's a soccer player.
Yeah, he's a soccer player, but also, very well driven and does very well in his career. He's given me so much advice and mentored me into acquiring my properties and like.
I can agree with that because when we used to play African Cup together back in the days, he always did talk about properties, even when we were training and things like that. So he's always been very switched on, right?
Very switched on. Gives good advice, leads you on the right paths, and always willing to help. So it's been great.
Awesome. Man, that comes to the end of the podcast. Jesse, look, there's so much I can say, but I just really want to say thank you so much for being on the very first episode of Black Wealth Connect. Like I told you, man, you're very inspirational. You've done a lot of stuff in finance, and this is why I put you on this platform to kick it off, because I know that the conversations that we've had before have been really good, and it's very educational, and I hope everybody learns from this, and I'm going to put all your links. So if people are able to reach out to you, did you prefer me to add all the links, or did you want to give yourself an outro, or what did you want to do, man? I'm putting you on the spot, man.
No, I think the links is fine. But I'm humbled to be on the first episode. Thanks for having me, Fab. It's been great. We go way back.
100%.
But it's all about Black Wealth Connect.
And that's the movement, man. And like we've always said, it's all about the youth. So share this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to put all the links. If there's anything that you want me and Jesse in the future to talk about, or me specifically, or Jesse himself, then definitely comment and reach out to us, and we're more than happy to help with anything, man. So I really appreciate you, man, and thank you so much, bro.
Thank you again. I'm humbled, blessed, man. What you're doing, keep it up, man. Honestly, this Black Wealth Connect.
I just want that chain too, man. You got to give me that chain. Like I've been trying to do the podcast, but it keeps shining into my eye.